And our next guest comes from the UK, Preet Biandel, a journalist with over 20 years of experience, who's recently written 2 books.
Yes.
Nice to have you here.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome, welcome. I'm Linda.
I'm Zed.
I'm Vince.
So
Lovely to
what?
meet you. I said, love your studio. It's really nice. Very nice.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. So what made you want to become a writer?
Well, I've been writing for like 20 years. I'm a journalist and I've worked across a whole range of books and magazines, going from business to fashion to sport and everything. And I do some tennis writing for some websites. I'm quite active on Twitter. I'm a big tennis fan. In the UK, soccer is our, #1 sport. We call it football. You guys know it as soccer. And it kind of has struck me over the last few years that tennis is not a sport that's really supported in the UK. It's really difficult to get into to play. It's not talked about and seen as much as football. So when the whole COVID thing happened, I decided I was going to write some picture books that would basically allow children to start reading and seeing pictures of tennis and reading about stories about junior tennis players. So it's basically just very simple books. You don't need to know about tennis. They're not technical because obviously they're aimed at children. But the whole idea was to introduce the sport to children from an earlier age so that they'll get interested in, even if they're not going to pick up a racket and play, they can at least be watching it and be a fan like I've been over the years.
Gotcha. And would you say, are you personally a tennis fan? Do you play tennis? Is that another reason why perhaps, you chose that sport as a channel, if you will, to reach the kids?
I don't play tennis, and the simple reason is I've never been presented with an opportunity. So when I was growing up, I've always watched it. I was a big fan of, the players like McEnroe and Navratilova, Chris Evert, then Boris Becker, Sampras. So I followed it all those years. And it's simply not something that's really done here. There aren't, of course, and you have to be a member. A lot of people don't really know where to go. And because it's a sport that's not talked about in sort of social circles as much as soccer is, it's kind of like, you either play it if you're a certain type of person or your parents are a bit, maybe affluential. So it's not available to everybody. So I wanted people to be able to read about it. So at least if the books are out in nurseries and schools, then children might understand what it is and maybe even start watching and then hopefully start playing.
Do you ever think of marketing for ages 50 and above? Because I love a good picture book.
You know what, honestly, the story, so my first customer from the US, he is an older gentleman. He must be about 50, 60. He's bought my 2 books and he absolutely loves reading them.
Right, that's nice.
They're really simple stories. I mean, the thing is, if you just like a simple story, like it's, I've tried to put in values like sportsmanship and about, it is about winning, but there's other qualities as well that you need as well. Support from your family. The second book is Sister Rivalry. So it talks a lot about the rivalry between siblings. So for every tennis child that makes it, there's probably a brother or a sister who hasn't been good enough to make it. So it's about teaching children that, look, you might not be great at something, but then there's always something else that you can pick up. So
Sure.
The books have those kinds of storylines as well. So even if you're not following the tennis theme, there's something in it for you to learn. So that was the idea.
Gotcha. And what would you say was have you always wanted to write essentially children's book? Is that something you always thought you might one day kind of delve into?
Yeah, not necessarily children's picture books. I mean, I am writing, I do have a fiction novel coming out this year that's being published by quite a big publisher in the UK. It's a totally a different line completely. It's not about tennis, it's about the Bollywood film industry, and it's a middle grade fiction novel about that. And it's it's like a stage school for children in Bollywood. So it's quite exciting, and that's something that I've been kind of working on for the last 10 years. I started out as a Bollywood journalist, and then I went into loads of different types of journalism. And to be honest, I think with the tennis books, if COVID hadn't happened and I hadn't found myself furloughed and sitting at home, I might not have had the time or the courage to write the books. And there was that period of 4 months where tennis was shut down completely, and I was so lost because I'm so used to following all the tournaments. And then I kind of just really missed it, and I thought, right, okay, now's the time to just take the plunge. And it's been really good, to be honest. I mean, I've set the books up as a social enterprise. So for every book that I sell, I donate once. I've been able to donate them to nurseries and schools. It wasn't about making money with these. The idea is about getting tennis out there, even to other countries, in different nationalities, into all the books as well. So as we go on, there'll be more books added. In the first one, like I've got a child from the US and the UK, and the second book it's a couple of Italian sisters. So maybe the next one I might have a little Chinese boy. So it's basically trying to kind of make children be able to relate to the sport as an international sport, and also kind of see themselves as part of the sport.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. Now, one thing, like you mentioned, soccer is very big over there, you know, and tennis, they don't really touch on that. In the US, football, baseball, basketball.
Sure.
I played tennis when I was in college for a brief period of time. My youngest daughter, actually, I got her to play some tennis, but it's definitely not a big sport over here. So I thought that was very good that you wrote that. Now, Sister Rivalry, do you have any siblings? Like, what inspired that book?
I think it was stories like like following tennis. You hear about certain tennis players. So, for example, you know, obviously Serena and Venus, there's that rivalry, and you do wonder how uncomfortable it might have been as they were growing up. And I've just finished, I just watched King Richard the other day, and it was interesting because Serena was very much in the shadow, and Venus was the one who was sort of put out there for, because she was the elder one. So Richard Williams really put her out there, and Serena was kind of left in the background, waiting for Venus to make it. Obviously Serena had the talent and then broke through, but there's lots of stories like Naomi Osaka, for example. She has a sister who was apparently getting wild cards because of Naomi's the connection, but she wasn't good enough to make it, so she stopped playing tennis. Then you've got people like Novak Djokovic. I know his brothers play tennis to a small extent, but they're not professional players anymore. And the whole thing is that for every family, like the parents will probably push all their children, but only maybe one or two of them are going to have the talent, but also the real desire to want to make it. And with this one, it was more, I mean, I've kind of, both of these characters, they're actually based on my two daughters, because there is a little bit of a rivalry there with absolutely everything. I mean, everything is a competition, especially the little one. She's always, you know, wanting to be better than her big sister. And so I just thought, you know what, it's quite a nice story, and I think it'll be quite relatable for children of, you know, of siblings who make it and the other ones that don't make it. So that was the idea.
And that's true. That happens often. My middle daughter married a triplet.
Oh,
Red-headed
wow.
triplet. And I must say, they compete viciously with each other. And they've all gotten very better with what they're involved with. They're really good.
I mean, you get that rivalry with siblings in any field, don't you? Not just sport. It can be for the affection of the parents, and it's just something that a lot of siblings have to deal with. So I thought, you know, let's pick on topics that people can relate to, because I was conscious about making the books too technical, so that I don't want to put people off. So at the you know, I have used some terms, like there are some matches in the books, but really it'll be a small part of it. So I mentioned forehand, maybe a serve, backhand, and then at the back of the books there's a glossary. So for the children who do want to know what all of these, you know, the shots and the strokes are, then there's a little bit of a description as well.
Right.
So being a journalist for 20 years, how much did that help you to write these books?
I think it doesn't help. Books are completely different. It's a total new ball game, and I realized that when I started writing my middle grade fiction books. Just trying to turn from a journalistic style of writing to fiction is completely different. And it is very much a case of you've got to keep practicing. You can't just really instantly switch between one and the other. And of course, there's the other whole thing where you can write the book, it can be amazing, but that's where the work starts. There's so much marketing and publicity and connections and stuff that you have to do once the book is written. So that's a whole new ball game as well. So you have to be really clever about how you're going to get people interested. So what I do is I do themed tennis visits to schools. So I'll go into like a primary or a nursery. It's still early days because the books were only published this year, but I'm booked for next year, World Books Day and stuff like that. So I'll go in and I'll first of all show the kids some highlight videos of some great shots, and then I'll talk to them about tennis players they might know. Then we'll do a little book reading and question and answers, and then a little game of tennis as well to get them physically involved. So I think you have to keep on finding new ways, because the marketing is really like, unless you've got a massive publisher behind you, it's you have to be really creative, I think.
Gotcha. In your experience, what is it harder having children as your audience, or what's your experience there? How do you find trying to essentially reach to children? Is that a harder task to be done than reaching your average adult?
Not really. I mean, I think children are so open and they're so receptive. So when you go into a classroom, first of all, they think that because you're a famous person, so literally they're just like, so it's quite interesting. They're instantly captivated.
Sure.
But what you do have to do is you have to, because their attention spans are quite small, you do have to make sure that you kind of break it up with questions. You've got to kind of be a bit humorous. And then the questions they ask you, like, how old are you? Or are you rich? Or how much money have you made from the book? And
nothing's off the table.
Yeah.
Really, it isn't. Nothing shocks me anymore. They do ask like the funniest questions, but it's all really nice. I think it's it's really nice to have children as an audience. I think they judge you far less than probably adults would, to be honest.
That's great. Well, it's been awesome having you here and talking to you and learning a little bit more, especially about your new project that you said will be released beginning of next year, you said?
In the summer, yes. It's a Bollywood fiction series, and it's going to be the first book in a series. So that I've been working on that for so many years, and it's taken me a long time to get to this point. So that's really exciting. But the tennis books are going to carry on as well. It is really like a labor of love for me, the tennis books. So I really appreciate being on your show. It's so lovely. So thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Good things take a little while, but yes, thank you.
I want people to know in the States you can buy the book on Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've sold more books on Amazon in the States than I have even in the UK, because I know the US is a bigger tennis nation, and so yeah, it's amazing. Every now and again, I'll get emails. There's been a sale here and a sale there, so it's really great. So I really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And here, enjoyed having us.
Yeah, for joining us today.
Hey, everyone, please take a chance. Really good music. I like a good simple read. So for me,
And it has pictures.
Yeah, can't get wrong with pictures. So thanks, everyone.
Have a good night. Enjoy us
Thank
next week.
you. Bye.